Peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. I am very grateful to God for giving me this honor and blessing to be here again, back to Glasgow. Between last year's conference and this year's conference, we had a very good camp in September, where we had some 20 Muslim youths and some 20 Christian youths gathered together for a camp under the banner of unity of God and unity in God. So coming back to Islam always bring good memories of real respect and mutual love and recognition among the Scottish people. The theme of education really opens appetites for someone like me, because this is what I think we take to be the most important thing, and we have dedicated our life to be always learning and to some extent teaching. As you are familiar, Islam started in a society in which education was not a priority. The number of people who were able to read or write in that society were less than fingers of one person. There was no that much value for literacy. But the first revelation to the Prophet involved reading. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. And the Prophet so much emphasized on education that society very soon became very advanced in not only developing different types of religious disciplines, not only introductory disciplines for understanding religion like Arabic, morphology, syntax, rhetoric, and so on and so forth, but also in all sciences available at that time. They were not against learning. Indeed, they were encouraged by the Prophet to be prepared for learning, even if that requires them to travel up to China. And I always say to people, even still today, for us to go and learn in China is not an easy option. But you cannot understand how difficult it was in that day just to know China by name. And the Prophet used to say, "Utlubul ilm walau bis-sin." And he was saying that there is no limit in any way for learning. No limit in time. Min al-mahd ila al-lahd. From birth up to death, you should be learning. No limit in gender. Talabul ilm farida ala kulli muslimin wa muslima. Male and female must, not just should, they must learn. No limit in subject. The Prophet didn't say you only learn religion. No, you have to learn all subjects, whether it be secular subjects or religious subjects. No limit in who can be your teacher. Any person who has mastered a subject can be your teacher. Even during some battles, when some pagan soldiers who were there to kill Muslims were taken as captive, they were asked, if you like, you can teach 10 Muslims and you will be immediately released. So even you can learn from someone who was there to kill you. No limit in any way. Even, for example, if it is very difficult. The Prophet used to say, "Utlubul ilm walau bisafk al-muhaj wa khawd al-lujaj." Even if it is risky, even it may cause for you some injury, or even if it may endanger your life, still it's better that you try to learn than you remain in ignorance. So this created a culture that was based on learning and teaching, but what I think is very important and I want to highlight today is that this has to be a holistic approach to education. We have to focus on every aspect of human development. We are not just in need of something for the growth of our body or just to meet our physical needs. We need to grow from every aspect. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes in today's world, enough attention is not given to developing human beings as a whole in their body and mind and soul. And here I think the role of faith communities, the role of tradition with long history of teaching and having wisdom becomes very important. And I think if we want to really grow, if we want to be able to face challenges of life today, we need to bring best of every tradition to our educational system. And let every person from every tradition to choose between best which is available. We cannot force all people to have a unified secular education and deprive them from benefiting from spiritual and religious input into education. I also would like to emphasize on the significance of having maximum harmony between families and community and society. If families are little by little marginalized and the role is totally or mostly just given to the public system of education, and if governments want to impose what they think would be right on everyone and undermine the role of parents, would be very difficult. And I don't think that would be very wise. And I would like to share in this great gathering the concern that many of Muslim families today have about new legislations coming. I don't know how much it is going to be in Scotland, but in England, everyone seems to be very worried about introducing sex education at very early age and not giving any option to the families. This is something which is worrying a lot, and I wanted to share and hopefully seek your advice and your assistance in how we can tackle these issues. I think families should remain in charge of education of their children, but we need to help. We need to bring the best available expertise and offer to the families, plus communities. I am sure you all have heard this famous African example that it takes the whole village to upbring a child. So we have to all work together so that we can have a generation of young people who have clear understanding of their role as good citizens, but also members of their own faith or their own tradition, so that, as First Minister very beautifully said, we can have a strength in diversity. We don't want just to have uniformity. We don't want to have people without color. We want colorful mosaic of people. And my last point that I mentioned last year in another country, and it's not that much the case, thanks to God, in the UK or Scotland. Sometimes some governments try to force people for integration. I am a person who is in favor of harmony and integration. But force makes it worse. When people are forced to integrate, what happens is that they go to defensive mode. They try to keep as much as possible all their options in their hand. Worst scenario for integration is when people are worried about their identity, about their children, about their ethnicity, their culture, and so on and so forth. But if we have an environment in which everyone feels safe and secure, that's the best scenario for people opening up and removing psychological borders and barriers between themselves. If I live in a neighborhood that I feel safe, I don't need to lock my doors. But if it's not safe, I have to shut the door, lock the door, put the alarm. I hope this does not happen to us when it comes to education, when it comes to integration. So I would like to thank Ahlul Bayt Society for organizing this important annual conference, and I would like to thank all the volunteers and all the speakers and all of you for your participation. And my prayer would be that we would see year by year Scotland growing in this beautiful example of harmony and solidarity. Thank you very much.